Konnichiwa, Samurai James here. Today I'm going to be opening an exciting box from something that I've never got before. Alright, so what is this box? Well, it is armor. And you're probably saying, hey, you've got armor. True story. But I don't have any actual antique armor, so in this box, some antique Japanese armor. As always, unboxing with my StoneBuiltKnives knife. You might have noticed the new sheath. I had to make me a nice little sheath for it after the fact, so I had a very basic belt loop there and just wanted something simplistic because this has been doing work, doing all the unboxings for me. It's done a great job, and I thought it was time that it gets a sheath. Now, let's start getting into this box. Alright, so I ended up coming into contact with somebody who happened to have a few antique pieces that they wanted to offload, and I got incredibly lucky, and they said, hey, pay for the cost of shipping and they're yours. I don't know if they had seen the channel or not, but I definitely appreciate it, and I was more than happy to pay for the shipping. And it is actually 4 pieces of armor, so 2 pairs. Now, they're in rough condition, which, you know, that's part of why they only ask for shipping, but at the same time, it's an actual antique piece, and it gives me something that I can look at when I'm making evaluations for things like reproduction armor. How close are they? How far off are they? Now, since this is an actual antique, I'm going to be quite gentle with it here. Set that paper off to the side. Now, first up, you can probably tell, is a pair of kote here. This is the armored sleeve. I'm going to unfold and lift this one up first. There you go. Now, as you can see, the fabric's in a bit of rough shape. Some of the kusari is coming off here. It's becoming detached from it, but still, this is super cool. I do believe these to be Edo period. The seller did not specify. They are more of a Ashigaru class, so it is not something that would be incredibly high rank, but you know, it's an antique piece. I'm super excited to have this. You can see a bit of the fabric fraying here, but the thing is, I can take a look at these plates. I can see the shaping on them. A lot of other things I'll be able to derive to see just how close or far off are some of the reproduction pieces that I have. It's even got the little set of ties here for looping through and tying off on around on the wrist. That is awesome. I can see where some of the stitches are coming up. It's got, you know, the classic Japanese kusari to it, and I'll put some pictures up here in the video. The round rings with the flat doubled over ovals here, which is nice to see. It does not have an elbow cap, and the elbow cap is one thing that I tend to go back and forth on with my armor, whether or not I like it or not, because sometimes it shifts around off the elbow and it starts to feel a little bit more funny. Here we go. So that's the loop here for the hand on the Tekko, which I realize is behind my awesome ceramic horsey now. There we go. So looking at the Tekko here, you know, it's got the loops. It's got the loops just like mine does. Of course, the fabric is, you know, detached here if it ever was glued, because it's, you know, 150 plus years old piece of armor. But my goodness, this is just so cool to have. Try to slide these little plates out here and flip them over as they would normally be oriented. There we go. So that would be the upper plates on it. You can see here where some of the kusari has broken off. I can see the holes here where it looks like, since these are just pairs of holes, yep, there's a few stitches there. So that would be where it would have been stitched down to help hold it in place, because there's no kusari in between. Again, just a classic symbol of an Ashigaru level. A samurai level may have, you know, more plates interspersed. It may have some more kusari in between to provide more protection, if that's something that they wanted. Let's see. Here's the other kote, which looks to be in a bit of better shape. Ah, this is so awesome. There we go. So yeah, looks like that might be a modern tie replacement up here, but that does seem to be, you know, I can't tell if that's the original toggle or not. But the purple cord definitely looks newer. Toggle looks similar to these. I will take a closer detail once I'm done with the video, so I'm not just rambling here as we're going through, at least no more so than I normally do in an unboxing. And here are the other 2 pieces. This is Sunyate, so Shino Sunyate, which are splint, and this has all the original splints with it. Now, it does seem to have some damage to it, whether that's from, you know, wear and tear of age and being around for a long time, just like my body feels sometimes, or if that was actual battle damage is kind of hard to say, especially for something like a splint like this. It could have been battle damage simply from leaning against something or having an impact from kicking somebody. just because there's no evidence of an actual sword mark on it doesn't mean it wasn't worn in combat and wasn't damaged during the course of combat. And of course, granted, it's the Edo period, so the chances are much more likely that it was not worn during combat, since there was so few battles during the Edo period. But still, it's amazing. I'm excited to have my first couple pieces of antique armor here. This is just awesome. I'm going to have to make a nice little display case for them. And, yeah, just really cool. It's got the kusari, it's got the splints to it. You know, a bit of the urushi is fading off here, but, you know, it's also great because I can see the curvature here on this center lame. I can see where it's actually pushing up, as it would be sitting at the front of your shin to go out to cover up like that. These all have, you know, a bit of curvature to them. They're not just flat pieces that had holes drilled and slapped onto it like you see in some reproductions. It's really cool. A little bit of a loss for words here with it, but very gracious towards the gentleman who sent these to me for the cost of shipping, and you know, may it be the first of a few things that I get added to the antiques collection here. A lot of it is out of budget for me, as I'm sure it is for others. I mean, I've seen suits going for $100 grand, and that's just craziness. I'm never going to be able to afford a $100,000 suit of armor unless it's like 50 years in the future and mega inflation has happened, and you know, a fast food meal is like $100. But anyway, not to dive off into anything political, because I keep away from all that on my channel. Yeah, I'm just rambling while I look at the antiques here. So, Ashigaru class, Edo period, actual antiques. Something I'll be able to use when I look and compare, even against a higher end suit like this that is a higher end repro from a modern reproduction. There's still things like the shaping of the plates, even though there's not as much mail. Simply looking at the weave of the mail, the sizing of the rings, all sorts of things like that. There are things you can derive even from things that are not apples to apples, because at least it's kind of an apples and oranges, even though everybody says that's like a terrible comparison. We're not looking at apples and hand grenades here, you know, apples and oranges. Higher class Japanese armor, lower class Japanese armor, still Japanese armor made by Japanese smiths, still using urushi, still using plates, still using Japanese kusari. So a lot of these things can be looked at and extrapolated, and especially because I've messed with armor for 15 plus years through, you know, both the Japanese and the European. I've handled some European antiques. This is my first time having an actual hands-on, physically touching and seeing and interacting with antique Japanese armor, and it is just, it's so cool. We're going to wrap this one up. This is Samurai James, and thanks for watching, and sayonara.